How to be yourself. I it's funny how I always have like the same intonation when I say the first sentence in a video. Na 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 na. How to be yourself. It's actually more complicated than we think, at least for me. I noticed that in my life, in a given moment, when I have the choice to be myself or not be myself, there's like a war going on in my head and in my body. And so what I notice is that there's an urge to say or act, like say something or act a certain way, and then there's the resistance to it. And if you go for like, or you go with what you want to do, really, you listen to yourself and you go with what you want to do in a given moment, and there's resistance because you fear what other people will think of you, if they're gonna reject you, if they're gonna find that you're ridiculous, then you're gonna feel like that resistance while you are being yourself. And so if you're being yourself while feeling that resistance, then you're not really being yourself either. So it's kind of like either way you're fucked, more or less, but not completely. Because I think that the most powerful thing is to go with your inner urge, even when there's resistance. And don't wait until there's no more resistance, because the resistance thing, it's kind of, it's dynamic and it changes with time. So with time, you might feel less resistance to do a certain thing in a certain setting, due to the inner work that you're doing. You meditate in the morning, you work on your limiting beliefs, and so you find this resistance like getting smaller and smaller until maybe the moment where you've got the courage and you're like, oh, now the resistance is not that bad, so now I can be myself. And even though I'm not completely comfortable, it's all right. Like I've the want for it is higher than the pain that I will feel, and so I'm going to do it. But that's something subjective. You can just like, how do you say that? Like, even though you might feel a lot of resistance, you can still do it and like feel that pain and do it. And for me, that's what's being yourself or being myself means. It's just going with the urge to do things, not overthinking it too much, even though I'm really thinking, hey, they're gonna think that I'm crazy. And it's all in the head. It's complete bullshit when you think that people are going to reject you. Because if you look at really famous people like Russell Brand or Louis C.K., they say like really, they talk about obnoxious, what's this word? Obnoxious shit, you know? Like Louis C.K. talks about this vulgar stuff, like really, really weird and really gross, and he doesn't care, and he makes fun of himself. And I feel like people in the room are actually admiring him for his courage of just like opening up to this, you know. And he doesn't give a shit. He doesn't give a rat's ass, and you feel it. And when you look at his like comedy show, you're like a stand-up show, you're like you're kind of, you can kind of understand that it's not about what you say, but about how you feel about what you say. And so me, for example, I'm always scared to talk about like stuff that I'm really interested in. So I'm scared to talk about the law of attraction, consciousness, esoterical stuff, you know, with normal people, because I'm like, they're gonna be like weirded out, they're gonna want to just go. But look at like Russell Brand, for example. He can be on a TV show and just talk about oneness, consciousness, how we're going back to unity, and like really woo-woo stuff. and people are just like, they're just in love with him. It's so funny to watch, because that's exactly the kind of situation that where I think that people would reject me, and in his case, they're not rejecting him at all. They're admiring his freedom and his power, because he doesn't give a shit either, and that's so powerful. And if I saw someone like this, like, I would be jealous. I would be like, man, I'm in a mental jail, and he's free. He's fucking free, and that's what I want. And generally speaking, people feel this freedom. Even when you take the freedom to make certain jokes and to be really witty and cocky, a lot of times some people will maybe be offended, but a lot of people are like, you can see it in their eyes. They're like, I'd love to be like this. I'd love to do this. And everyone actually can do it. It's just that at the beginning, it's painful. It's fucking painful because you feel so much resistance, because you're scared. But the more you do it, the more you take the risk to do it, and you're witty and all, it gets easier. And I'm noticing it because also right now, like, I'm at my new work where I'm not in my normal emotional state that I have most of the time. I'm back a little bit like back in my past, I feel, emotionally speaking, because I'm scared in several, like, not most of the time, what do I want to say, in a lot of situations at my work I'm scared, and so I find myself just not feeling free anymore and feeling scared. And in these moments where I feel scared, I'm not myself, and I don't take the risk to be myself either. I'm just like in my mental thing, and I'm just trying to survive. Actually, it's really funny. And so now I'm getting in the phase where at my work I'm getting more and more comfortable, and I see myself going back to my normal emotional state that I have when I'm at home or with friends. And I see myself finally like being like how I like to be again. Like I like to be very ironical with people, but I also like to really like compliment people or touch them on the shoulder. That's stuff that I do kind of naturally, but not when I'm scared. And now that I'm getting into this phase, I'm kind of seeing the result of this at my workplace, and people actually like that. When I say stuff and I don't think about it, I don't overthink it, and I even say things that are super just like in tune with what I feel, like, oh, everything is, I don't say everything is one, but I can say like some stuff that might be like kind of connected with what I like, and people will be like, yeah, you're right, and or yeah, that's really funny, or whatever, you know. And so, to be yourself, take the risk of feeling this pain of rejection. Trust that people actually will react in a good way. And I think that people will react in a better way if you do the thing, even if you're scared, even if you feel it's pathetic. They would at least like have compassion for you and feel that you actually want more freedom and all, even though it might not be they might not like be, it's so funny and all. They might just like that, because if you're not being yourself and you're like keeping yourself from like expressing yourself, I feel like when people do this with me now, it's a little bit like they are lying to me, because they're not being themselves, and I hate that. I really don't like that. Because I try to escape and to like I try to go away from these people, because I'm like, oh, they've got a ton of work to do and on themselves, and I just don't want to hang out with them. And the funny thing is, I am myself like this in some situations still. So try to take the risk and see how people react, and most of the time people react very positively when you're just like going for what's inside and just expressing how you feel, what you want to say. Try it out. Like really, you can do really small steps. at a time, and you'll see what happens. Thanks for listening.